Good afternoon. I want to call to order today's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Daley. Here. Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Krasner. Here. Senator Steinbeck. Here. Chair Orenshaw.
Present. We do have a quorum. Please mark the majority leader present when she arrives or absent excused if she's not able to attend. A few housekeeping matters. Please ask everyone to silence their electronic devices. If someone wishes to testify, please sign in at the table by the door. Please provide a business card, if any, to the committee secretary. For those joining online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking to minimize any background noise. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name, your affiliation with any organizations, if you have any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If you are providing handouts, we do ask that 20 paper copies be provided to here at the committee for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted in PDF form to our committee manager 24 hours prior to the committee hearing. We do ask everyone to be courteous and respectful to other people during the meeting, even if we don't agree with their position on one of the issues. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. As a reminder, we may take agenda items out of order. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. With that, I would like to turn the gavel over to Vice Chair Daley. And Vice Chair Daley, I'd like to turn the gavel over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And at this time, we will open the hearing on Senate Joint Resolution 8 being presented by our chair, Senator Orenshaw. So as soon as you get down there, proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Daley, members of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. For the record, James Orenshaw, I represent State Senate District 21 down in Southern Nevada, and appreciate the committee listening to SJR 8. With me co-presenting, I've got Helen Mortensen down in Las Vegas on Zoom, and many know Helen for many reasons through her activism, creating the state park that we have down in Southern Nevada in terms of the Ice Age fossils, our activism on many other issues, trying to protect Sunrise Mountain, Frenchman Mountain, and I think Senator Daley and I might be some of the few here who got to I got to serve with her husband, Assemblyman Harry Mortensen, who's a former chair of the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. I think that Senator Daley might still, you were being a legislative advocate, I think, when Assemblyman Mortensen was a member of the legislature. And Dr. Rowland may or may not be on Zoom. I think he was on Zoom earlier, and we may have lost his Zoom. He might be calling in. Dr. Rowland is a retired emeritus professor at UNLV of geology, and he has taken students from around the world to come to Frenchman Mountain to look at the Great Unconformity because of its geological value to students. SJR 8, I'd like to talk a little bit about the effort to ask the federal government and the Congress to look at enhanced protections for Sunrise Mountain and Frenchman Mountain and Rainbow Gardens. This bill, I'd like to talk a little background on. Since the 1990s, many local groups and individuals in Southern Nevada have been leading efforts to protect these amazing and beautiful areas of our state. Over the past decades, local groups such as Citizens for Active Management, and here I'd like to take a moment just to recognize former State Senator Tom Hickey, who's deceased now, we've lost him, but he was a big supporter of Citizens for Active Management and wanted protections for Sunrise Mountain, the Frenchman Mountain area. We've got Chispa, Nevada, Neighbors of the Universe, among others, have helped bring attention to the sites there on Frenchman Mountain, Rainbow Garden, Sunrise Mountain by establishing interpretive panels and advocating for action to protect these areas. These lands are federally controlled by the Bureau of Land Management, but I believe are in need of additional protections and additional resources so that not only can the public in Southern Nevada and visitors from around the world enjoy these areas responsibly, but also so that they'll be protected. I certainly think that the area there has the potential to have hiking trails, have picnic tables, bathrooms, places people can park, like Red Rock Canyon, like Mount Charleston. But right now, unfortunately, that's not the case. The location of this area between Las Vegas and other recreational sites, such as the Lake Mead National Recreation Area, presents both challenges and opportunities. Our growing population in southern Nevada poses a challenge for preserving this area, but it's my hope that hiking trails, designated parking areas can be established to increase the recreational appeal of this region. Recent conservation efforts, including those by Native Voters Alliance Nevada, have focused on establishing a 32,600 acre national monument to provide those needed protections. This resolution asks Congress to apply some form of federal protection to these areas. With regard to the resolution itself, the whereas clauses set forth the reasons this legislation is necessary. These provisions highlight the beauty of the mountain ranges, as well as the unique, compelling geological feature known as the Great Unconformity. I believe that there are handouts describing the Great Unconformity that should be on Nellis and should have been distributed to the committee. And if you didn't get them, please let me know, and we can try to make sure those are distributed. The resolution also highlights the prehistoric significance of Gypsum Cave and its significance to Native American culture, as well as the importance of unique plant species. A major attraction of these areas are the recreational opportunities enjoyed by our state's residents, as well as the potential to expand those opportunities. Finally, the resolve clause asks Congress to designate these lands for federal protection as a national conservation area, a national recreation area, a national monument, or some other form of enhanced federal protection that would try to protect the area. When I've read some of the history of Red Rock Canyon, for those of us from southern Nevada, which right now is the majority leader, Senator Steinbeck and I've read that if you go back 60, 70 years ago, some of the problems that Frenchman Mountain, Sunrise Mountain faces now with dumping, target shooting, people, dumping garbage, and were prevalent in Red Rock Canyon till the federal government enhanced the protections there. And now it's such a gem in southern Nevada that people love and get to hike, get to go out and spend time with their families and enjoy nature. People do hike up on Frenchman Mountain. People do that, but there's not really maintained trails. And so I think if the federal government did expand the protections, it would really enhance the experience for everybody and protect the area so people would stay on designated trails. With your permission, Vice Chair Daley, I've got Helen Mortensen in Las Vegas, and I don't know if Dr. Rowland's going to call in. We may have lost him, but may I turn it over to my co-presenter, Helen Mortensen? Thank you, Vice Chair.
Proceed when you're ready.
I pushed the
Yeah,
alt and
sorry
shift.
about that. Can you hear
Yeah.
us?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Just, Okay,
you're good,
fine.
Grandma.
thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Orenshaw and Chairman and the members of the committee. Really appreciate an opportunity to testify. I'm here in support of Senate Joint Resolution number 8. My name is Helen Mortensen, and I'm a member of the Citizens of Active Management Frenchman Sunrise Mountain area. You have a brochure, hopefully. My testimony is, it's time to rescue the Frenchman's Mountain, Rainbow Gardens, Gypsum Cave area from the vandals and the litterers. It's an underappreciated, underutilized, fantastically scenic area with very high potential for development of additional trails, scenic overlooks, and interpretive displays. Legitimate world-class geological and archaeological features occur in this area, such as the Great Unconformity, where 500 million year old sandstone lies on top of 1.7 billion years old granite and schist. This is a globally significant geological feature that is visited by geologists and geology students from around the world. It's an embarrassment to bring visitors to this feature due to the litter and broken glass. Frenchman Mountain and Rainbow Gardens, which provide the best exposure on Earth of a continuous succession of strata representing the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Cenozoic eras, including fossil trilobites and other marine fossils. This is a national park quality geology. Gypsum Cave, which is a very famous archaeological site on the National Registry of Historical Sites. The cave was excavated by legendary archaeologist Mark Harrington in 1930 to find out when humans first arrived in North America. The excavation recovered fossil bones of giant ground sloths, camels, and horses from the Ice Age, as well as Native American artifacts. The cave is a sacred site to the local Paiute community. Tragically, it's frequently vandalized and desecrated with graffiti. The goals of this proposal that Senator Orenshaw is putting forth are to transform this eyesore and management headache into a highly valued recreational and educational resource on the east side of the valley, and create a recreation anchor on the east side of the valley that will complement Red Rock Canyon, NCA on the west, Sloan Canyon, NCA on the south, and Tule Springs Fossil Bed National Monument on the north. Achieving these goals will enhance the public image of Southern Nevada as a mecca for outdoor recreation. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. Did you have more?
I'm sorry?
I said, did you have more, or I thought you were had some more
No,
comments?
that's it.
Okay.
That's it. But I do support the Senate Resolution number 8 and thank Senator Orenshaw for bringing this forward.
And thank you, Mr. Mortensen. And with that, we'll open it up for any questions from the committee. Senator Krasner.
And I'm so sorry to interrupt, Vice Chair, and I'm Senator Krasner. James Orenshaw, Senate District 21. I believe, I was told that broadcasting has Dr. Stephen Rowland, Emeritus Professor of Geology from UNLV, on Zoom, but he's audio only. So I wonder, with your indulgence, Vice Chair, would you allow Dr. Rowland to speak? And then I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Yes, we will, and we'll come back to questions. And but yes,
Thank you.
Broadcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. This is Dr. Steve Rowland. I'm geology professor emeritus at UNLV. I was on the faculty there for 40 years and studied Frenchman Mountain, the Rainbow Gardens extensively. Took I don't know how many field trips of geology students from UNLV and from elsewhere, students from Norway and elsewhere. It's just a phenomenal geologic resource for education, for research, for recreation. And I just sort of support my colleague Helen Mortensen's comments about that. And it's right on the east side of town. And unfortunately, it's very accessible to people who want to go and litter and throw their beer bottles and make a big mess. It just needs a higher level of protective status. It needs some security. My preference would have it be a day use area only, and it would be a wonderful resource. And I enjoyed Senator Orenshaw's comparison with Red Rock Canyon. I think that's a fair comparison of some of the problems that Red Rock Canyon faced decades ago were cleared up by a much higher level of security and protective status. And I think the Frenchman Mountain Rainbow Gardens area could be a similar kind of resource for the community of Las Vegas if it had a little bit more security. And so I definitely support Joint Resolution 8 of Senator Orenshaw to raise the level, to urge Congress to create a higher level of protection for that area. Thanks very much for hearing our testimony.
Yes, and thank you for your comments. So now we'll go to questions from the committee. Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you for your presentation. So, Las Vegas is a world-class destination, and we're always looking for more ways to attract more people to come to our state, so they'll spend their money and dine at our restaurants and go to our casinos and go to our shows. Do you think this would be just one more way that we could attract people to our state to come and hike and walk trails and enjoy the beauty of Las Vegas?
Through you, Vice Chair, to Senator Krasner. Oh, thank you. Senator Krasner, James Orenthal, Senate District 21. You know, one thing that's interesting, a lot of tourists come to Las Vegas for, the casinos and the restaurants, but there are also a lot of tourists who come to Las Vegas and rent RVs and go try to see some of the scenic beauty, go drive to Valley of Fire or to go see Lehman Caves or, head up the different sites. There are a lot of people who also want to see the natural beauty of Nevada and our neighboring states. And they fly in, they rent these RVs, and they go and try to tour and try to camp. And I know that when I was a kid, I remember going on field trips to Valley of Fire State Park and seeing the Native American petroglyphs. And, unfortunately, I think when I was a kid, I don't think that our schools, we really knew about the Great Unconformity. I don't think that it had gotten the kind of publicity it has now, but I certainly could see people wanting to take part and to see something like the Great Unconformity. I know Dr. Rowland said that he's had international students come wanting to see it, because I think there's only maybe 2 other places on the planet where you can see that change in time in the rock. And I'm really not adequately educated about geology to explain that. But also Gypsum Cave is very sacred. A lot of fossils there that I think paleontologists want to study. But I think that if some more resources were spent in that area and there were developed supervised hiking trails, if there were parking lots, bathrooms like they have at Red Rock Canyon or up in Mount Charleston, then I think that there'd be a lot more beneficial use where people can enjoy the area, but it would be protected. I think at Red Rock Canyon, unless you have a permit for camping, I think it's 8 or 9 o'clock, the park rangers patrol, and people aren't allowed to be there and, do anything after dark, like target shooting, dumping trash, things like that. So I think that would lead to a cleaner area, and I think we'd have a lot more ability of the public to enjoy it and protecting Gypsum Cave, Rainbow Gardens, the Great Unconformity. So I think it would. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for the presentation too, Senator. 2 questions for you. First one is, I know this area pretty well, but do we have an exact bordered map as to the area that we're asking Congress to designate this?
Thank you, Senator Steinbeck. There, as to the area that is federal land, I don't have that as part of the packet. The way I wrote the resolution, I wrote it in a way that I was hoping that Congress would have the flexibility if they, if in their wisdom they felt that maybe the Great Unconformity should be declared a national monument, that maybe they could declare what area they want to protect there, or if Gypsum Cave should be declared a national monument. So I wrote the resolution in a way that I thought would give flexibility to our partners in Washington to try to look at creating something that was as small or as large as they felt was appropriate to protect there. As to the exact area that's covered, years ago there was a study that studied the Sunrise Mountain, Frenchman Mountain area as to whether it was appropriate to be considered a wilderness area. And this is probably going back at least 20 years or longer. And that did have an acreage in it, and I did have that at the 2021 hearing, because I did sponsor this, and this passed in 2021, something very similar, if not identical. And so I can get that information. I don't have it currently with me, but that did have that acreage, but I don't have that right now.
Okay, yeah, just because, the reason I brought the question up was, depending on how long you've been in the area, what you refer to as this, maybe a very large area, very more exact area, based off of just like local opinion as to what's included or not included, unless we actually had the borders, and a map of that. But the second question that I have And believe me, all the glass up in that area and trash really upsets me when I'm there as well, and some of the other things. But there's a lot of ATV riding that goes up that direction. Would this eliminate all of that completely? Because I know like in Red Rock, that's gone, right? I mean, which is good for most of the area, but there's a lot of businesses that their business is based off of tourists coming in and then doing the tours, and a lot of the tours will bring them up in that direction.
James Orenshaw, Senate District 21, Senator Steinbeck. The way this resolution's written, I think there's flexibility so that it wouldn't necessarily have to be eliminated, depending on what kind of protection came from the federal government or came through a bill going through Congress. I think it's possible that that could still be preserved to a certain extent. So here, the resolution really gives flexibility to Congress to be able to draft the protections the way they see fit. Certainly, I think if they went the route of what protections Red Rock Canyon has, then like you said, I think it's unlikely that there'd be much ATV driving allowed, but it doesn't have to be written that way. That's the way the resolution, it does have flexibility in terms of what areas are designated and what kind of designation they get.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, and I don't believe I have a question. I'm not familiar with the area there, although I did look up some stuff online to get some pictures and various things. But, so with that, seeing no other further questions, we'll ask you to step back and we'll
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Committee.
ask for testimony in support of Senate Joint Resolution 8.
Hello, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Vinny Spottleson, and I am testifying on behalf of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. We are the largest member, grassroots-driven environmental organization in the state. And I am testifying in support of SJR 8 for two main reasons. One is this environmental protection outdoor recreation piece that we're talking about. I'll try to address your question a little bit, Senator. Right now, what we have, the way it would be transformed, a more recent example than Red Rock would be the Ice Age Park at Tule Springs that Helen Mortensen was so instrumental in getting passed 10 years ago. And what we've seen over the last 10 years is we went from basically an open area, like I said, with trash with no facilities, to now there's a very nice visitor center. There's some very well-developed trails. The area is clean. The fossil sites are protected, and the scientists can do their work. We would hope for the similar thing to happen at Frenchman and Sunrise Mountain, that there would be actual parking, that there would be restroom facilities, that there would be trash cans, and that this would be part of a sort of a management planning process that could look into the travel management plan. And the travel management plan, there's already some sort of designated routes for ATVs. With ATV use, you know, on the environmental perspective, the desert's very fragile. We talk a lot with the ATV groups and try to negotiate. And really what I would see as probably if there was ATV use allowed, it would be probably around designated routes so that you're protecting from species and things like that. So all of that outdoor recreation, to your question, Senator Krasner, would be, I think, a huge bonus for our, array of outdoor recreation opportunities we have. Red Rock is very busy. Certain times of year, Mount Charleston gets very busy. This would be another site that people could go to, and if they know that there's facilities, tourists could be confident, families could be confident that they could travel out there. Right now, it's a little bit more rugged, which is fun for certain types of people, but it limits the access to others. The second reason is, and I do not speak for the Las Vegas Paiute tribe, but I did have the opportunity to go on a tour with several spiritual leaders of the Southern Paiute Nation. And Gypsum Cave, it'd be hard to explain how important this resource is to the Southern Paiute, not just the Las Vegas Paiutes or the Moapa Paiutes, but the entire Southern Paiute Nation along the Colorado River. This cave is a part of becoming in a spiritual journey along the Paiute tribe, and I can't get into too many details, but what's happening in the cave is that there's a lot of partying, a lot of vandalism, a lot of desecration at all hours, and that sort of pollutes the spiritual power and spiritual meaning of the cave. It also limits access that they want for certain ceremonies or traditions that they want to practice at the cave. So what they would like to see there is some sort of controlled access where you have the tribe, where you have, NV Energy or the other utility lines have access to that cave, but that it is kept safe from the sort of vandalism and looting and desecration that we see that's harming the religious rights of the Southern Paiute tribe. And so we see this as incredibly important on both those aspects, and thank you for your time.
Any other testimony in support, either here or in Las Vegas? I'm not seeing anybody in Las Vegas, actually. I'm not seeing anybody coming up in Carson. So broadcast, do we have anybody on the phone?
If you'd like to testify in support of SJR 8, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Thank you. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. So we'll close testimony in support and see if there is any opposition, either here or in Las Vegas. Come on up.
Hello, Chris Anderson, CHRISANDERSON, on behalf of Sala Consulting and Lavego Incorporated. My client is in the planning stages of an environmentally friendly development at the Frenchman Mountain and Rainbow Gardens area. We've actually initiated conversations with organized labor and with economic development stakeholders in the community. I have great respect for the senator, the sponsor of this resolution. We've not had the opportunity to talk yet. But basically, my client is looking to achieve some of the same goals that you've heard about in terms of cleaning up the area, making it more accessible to visitors and more attractive to visitors who come to Las Vegas, not only for our gaming and hospitality assets, but also for the many outdoor opportunities in the Las Vegas area. So I look forward to working with the sponsor, but I would encourage this committee not to preemptively discourage responsible development before we have a chance to fully engage with the community and hopefully create that anchor on the east side that will make it more attractive for responsible use. Thank you.
You go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to ask a question, but thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So the development that you're talking about, is that going to be on the federal lands?
Through you, Senator Steinbeck, Chris Anderson for the record, yes, it would be.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So just so the development is potentially going to be on BLM land, is what you're saying. What type of development are we talking about? Is it residential, commercial, casino, a little bit of all of it? What are we looking at?
Chris Anderson for the record. Senator Daley, it would be on BLM land, so it would require, federal approval in order to move forward with a development like this. I can tell you, I'm not at liberty to publicly broadcast all of the aspects of it, but it would be roughly $100 million development, and it would focus on improving recreational opportunities, not housing, not commercial development per se, that would disfigure the area. This is something to encourage environmental tourism in the area, as opposed to development in the sense of building a big box business or homes or the like.
Understood. Yeah, my understanding on the BLM land, there are certain types of things that they allow, but they still retain and own the land and then have the responsibility to manage it. But they also do leasing for mining and various things. So it's not residential, commercial type building, but other. All right, understood. So maybe compatible use anyway. So. Do we have any other testimony in opposition? Seeing none, broadcast, anybody on the phone lines?
There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. So we'll move to testimony in neutral. Do we have anybody here or in Las Vegas for neutral? Seeing nobody come up. Broadcast, has anything changed in the last 30 seconds?
No, sir, there are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. we'll allow Senator to come up and have any closing remarks if he'd like. And we'd like to thank him and his co-presenters today as well.
Vice Chair Daley, members of the committee, thanks for hearing Senate Joint Resolution 8. I think for us, Senator Steinbeck and I, it's easy to think about the beauty of Frenchman Mountain, Sunrise Mountain, Rainbow Gardens. Sometimes you can see it coming in by air as you land in Las Vegas. You can see the bright colors of Rainbow Gardens. I think that from the valley floor of Las Vegas up to the top of Frenchman Mountain is about a 2,000, maybe a little over 2,000 foot rise. So it's pretty dramatic, views there. And certainly hope the committee will consider moving forward with the bill. And just a moment of personal privilege, I just wanted to thank Dr. Roland Helen Mortensen, and certainly want to compliment Helen Mortensen on her tremendous activism through the years, being able to, work to get that Ice Age State Park funded. It's tremendous, Helen, what you've accomplished, and Dr. Roland, Citizens for Active Management, but definitely Helen campaigned so hard to protect that Ice Age Park, and it just take my hat off to Helen, and thank you for testifying today. With your permission, Vice Chair, I want to thank Helen for all her hard work protecting Southern Nevada.
Yes, thank you. So with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Joint Resolution 8, and I will hand the gavel back to the chair when he arrives.
Thank you. Before we get to public comment, there are two. One sec. There are two BDRs that I have here. One is BDR 24-953, and I can pass out copies to members. And I'm seeking motions for introduction. So I'd like to give one copy here to, I'd like to pass that, Mr. Sturm. I can pass two copies here.
Motion to introduce.
Okay, thank you, Vera. I have a motion to introduce. And is there a second? I do want to remind a second from Senator Krasner that a motion or a vote to introduce the BDR does not commit any member to supporting the BDR or to endorsing the bill. Any discussion on the motion for introduction of BDR 24-953? I'm not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Madam Secretary, please note that the motion to introduce BDR 24-953 passed unanimously. And then I have one other BDR today that I'd like to seek introduction. I do have copies here for all the members. That's BDR 24-954. This is a BDR regarding elections, and if I could pass one, Mr. Sturm, down to Senator Krasner, and then I've got two copies here for the Vice Chair and for Senator Steinbeck. Similarly, a motion to introduce or vote to introduce BDR 24-954 is not a commitment to support this or anything like that. I'd accept a motion for introduction of BDR 24-954.
Motion to introduce.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Senator Krasner. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the motion to introduce BDR 24-954 passed unanimously. And with that, I'd like to go to our last item on the agenda, which is public comment. If there's anyone who wishes to make public comment, either here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas. I don't see anyone coming up forward in Vegas or in Carson City. So broadcasting, if we could go to the Zoom lines for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, members. Thanks very much. And thank you to Dr. Rowland and to Mrs. Mortensen. Thank you for appearing today.